Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are solving divide an array into subarrays with minimum cost 1. So in this problem, we will be given an array of integers and the array name will be called nums and it will be length of n, and we want to divide it into 3 disjoint contiguous subarray. And the cost of a subarray will be the value of its first element. So for example, if the subarray is 1, 2, 3, then the cost is 1. The subarray is 3, 4, 1, then the cost would be 3. And we want to return the minimum possible sum for the cost of 3 subarrays in the array. So if you look at this example, it will be best to split into this subarray, and this subarray, and the sum will be 6. For this example, since it only has 3 elements, we have to divide into 3 subarrays, each consisting of only 1 element, and that will be 5 plus 4 plus 3, which is 12. In this example, we have to include this one. We can't do 3, 1, and 1 because 10 will be left out, so we have to do 10 and 3 plus 1 and 1. 10 plus 1 plus 1 will be 12, so we return 12. So now that we have seen some examples, let's get to how we can solve this problem. So to solve this problem, we should understand that the first number in the array will always need to be in the sum for the 3 subarrays to add up into the input array, because if you look at it, no matter how we split it, we know that the cost of the subarray will be the first value. So if we leave it on its own, or if we make it as big as possible, we will always need to include the first element of the array. And we also realize that the other 2 numbers can come from anywhere in the array, so we will just pick the 2 smallest one for the 2 other ones, and we will add it to the first element in the array. So what we can do is we can set the 3 variables consisting of the first, second, and third element in the array. So the first element will always be the first variable, the second variable will be the smaller of the second or the third element, and the third variable will be the larger of the second or third element. And now we will iterate from the 4th element to the end. If we see a number that is less than the second variable, then we will now set the second to third and the new element to second. Otherwise, if it is larger than second but smaller than the third, then we will set the third variable to the new element. And finally, we'll return the sum of first, second, and third as our result. So let's go over this example real quick. We will set 1 to 10, 2 to 1, and 3 to 3, because 2 is the smaller of these 2, so we set 1 to 2. This is the larger one, so we set to 3. And now we'll look at the 4th element and onward. So we see that 1, it's not less than 2, but it is less than 3, so we will set the value of 3 to 1. Now that we have come to the end, we can return the sum of these 3 numbers as our result, which would be 12. And the time complexity would be O of n, where n is a number of elements in the input array, because we will have to iterate through n elements from the 4th one to the end, so the time would be O of n. And the space complexity would be O of 1, because the size of these variables will not depend on the size of the input array. So now let's get to the coding part. So first we will set 1 to the nums of 0, 2 to the minimum of nums of 1 and nums of 2. And we will set 3 to the max of nums of 1 and nums of 2. Now we will look from the 4th element to the end. So for I in range 3 to length of nums, if nums of 1 is less than 2, then we will set 3 to 2. And after that, we will now set 2 to nums of I. Otherwise, if nums of I is less than 3, then we will set 3 to nums of I. And finally, we want to return 1 plus 2 plus 3. See if it works. Okay, perfect. Hope this was helpful. Thank you all for watching. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments section, and I hope to see you all again soon.